I think I got it figured out. Sorry about that, guys. Also, my studio, I updated the camera, but then when I tried to do it down there, the camera wasn't connecting to this interface, so I just moved up to the upstairs office. So change of scenery. Not as cool, but it gets the job done, right?
Yeah.
We also have a special guest with us. You see, I don't know if you can see that. You see, there's the undisputed bantamweight champion of the world is with me.
All right.
Oh, hell yeah. That's a special guest. Are you kidding me right now?
Yeah.
Where are you guys headed?
We were at the gym, and then we went and got something to eat, and now I'm taking her back to her Airbnb.
Where are you?
Montreal.
Oh, you are. Okay.
Yeah.
Where you? Oh, so you go to your gym, obviously.
We went to Ian's. We went to Ian's tonight.
Oh, you did. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, we went to Ian's. Yeah,
All
we
right.
did some rounds with Jessica Kamara.
Oh, right.
So
Yeah.
it was good.
Sure.
Yeah.
Real quick, Russ, a lot of the more legitimate podcasts will have the opportunity to do a sponsorship. Do you mind if I do a shout out for Rival Boxing?
If you want to, you can. You don't have to, but if you want to, you can.
I would love to. It's a free sponsorship. Fair enough.
No problem. Let Scully be the guy who endorses it. Let
Yes.
Scully be the guy who could have been from the very beginning, 23 years ago, could have been the rival U.S. owner and distributor of the product, and he decided, nah, that sounds like work.
Do you know? I was gonna say, do you know how much work I would have had to do for the last 22 years?
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Crazy.
Scully lives a good karma life, though. Like,
Yeah, man. That's for sure.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna try this. If this sucks, I'll take it out. Fair enough, Russ.
Wait, if what sucks?
If this little endorsement I do, I'm gonna read it out like it's done on a traditional podcast.
Oh, as you wish. Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Let's do it. Okay, Rival boxing gloves. What separates Rival is they weren't built in a boardroom. They were built with real boxing knowledge behind them. Rival was created by a boxing Hall of Fame trainer who understood exactly what fighters need: protection, balance, durability, comfort, and performance when it matters most. That kind of experience shows in every detail, from the fit and wrist support to the way the gloves feel in training. Whether you're on the bag, sparring, or getting rounds in, Rival gear is made by people who truly understand the sport. If you're serious about boxing, train with equipment designed by boxing minds. Rival boxing gloves, built from experience, made for fighters.
Scully, you good with that?
I like it.
I like it. All right, good.
Yeah.
Sold.
Boom. Awesome. Okay.
Did you write that?
I'm not gonna lie to you. I prompted some of it into AI, but the prompts, yeah,
Oh, but yeah, it sounds good.
the prompts were focused on it. The first one was kind of bland, and I was like, well, what differentiates Rival? It's like it's made by a boxing person, boxing people. Like, hello, no brainer. So, yeah.
Well, that's actually to be fair, that's actually one of our mottos is by boxing people for the boxing world, or by boxing people for boxing people. So that's one of our things that we do. Yeah.
I'm gonna talk to ChatGPT that they didn't pull that out for me. That would have been a perfect way to end that.
Yeah.
So first off, I don't think I talked about this last time. So I was going to ask how you guys are doing and what's new, but there were some things that were new that we didn't talk about the last time I had you. So Scully, you're being inducted into the Atlantic City Boxing Hall of Fame, correct?
Yes.
And I will be there for him.
Nice.
Let's talk about it, man. What does that mean to you?
It means I got to spend a lot of money on hotels and stuff and pay my way to get down. Oh, you mean what it means to Scully? Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. I thought it meant what it meant to me. Okay.
Quiet down.
Go ahead,
Buddy.
Scully.
For me, I mean, I've been saying for years that I think of all the, outside of Canastota, all the Hall of Fames that I've been to several. I think Atlantic City is the number one, outside of Canastota. The guest list they have. I mean, last year I was there. I was with Carlos Palomino, Roberto Duran, Tim Witherspoon, Michael Spinks, Yaki Lopez, Danny Little Red Lopez. It was amazing, and they really do a really high class thing, and it lasts for 3 days. And I'm excited about it. I'm really, really happy about it.
Awesome, man. Awesome. And what is that's one thing I'm wondering. What is it like when you see, I'm sure you both run into Roberto Duran and know him like relatively well. Is he still like a mythical guy to interact with? Like, does he still have that about?
Well, I guess you never heard the story of Roberto.
I want to hear his story. Come on.
Are you ready for this story?
I'm ready for all stories. Yeah,
You're
that's what
not
we're
gonna
here
believe it. So
Sorry.
the way well, I'll backtrack. Years ago, when I was fighting, there was a little bit of talk about him and I fighting, and a guy messaged me. I didn't know who he was. He messaged me on Instant Messenger on AOL, and he said, "Look, man, I'm here with Roberto Duran. You know, we want to fight you." Blah blah. And I'm thinking it's one of my friends, you know, playing the joke, right? So I'm like, yeah, you know. And then after a few minutes, you know, it started sounding a little legit, and I was like, well, just in case. So anyway, it got to be a free for all where I was like, listen, fight me at 175. I can't make 168. And he's like, oh, Duran said stop being a punk. I said, listen, you want to get him killed at 168? He can't make weight. Like let him fight at 175. He'll be comfortable, you know. So we go back and forth, and I'm halfway thinking it's not him. So he tells me at one point he got the number, my email address from Bob Pace, who's a memorabilia dealer. So we go back and forth, and I'm going off like crazy on Duran, you know, and all this stuff, and I even, you know, I was getting kind of insulting and everything, and so the next day I called Bob Pace, and I'm like, I said, Bob, you ever met Roberto Duran? He's like, oh yeah, I was just with him like 3 days ago. Matter of fact, I gave his manager your information, and I go, yeah, we talked.
Oh,
So,
no. Yeah, I mean, it's some
but
information you could have used, right?
but now here's what happened. About 5 years ago, I'm in New York City, the Bronx. I'm getting an award from the Ring 10.
That's
And
the story I was waiting for you to tell. That's the one that I was waiting for you.
I get an award from Ring 10. I'm up on the dais, and I remember it was Mark Breland, it was Harvey Dock, it was Marlon Starling, Jerry Cooney, Larry Holmes, and Roberto Duran. I get up to do my speech, and Duran is literally sitting to my left. Like if I reached out with my left hand, I could pat him on the head. He was right there. My trophy's right in front of me. I do my speech. I go sit down. When it's over, we all go out in the audience to talk to fans and mingle and do our thing, right? And at one point, I remember, oh, I got to go get my trophy. Man, I left my trophy. I go up. My trophy's not there. It's off the dais. It's gone. And I go, man, that's nobody could have took the trophy. That's crazy. And I said, maybe the cleaning people did it. So I go to the head guy. I go, hey, man, my trophy's missing. They go, oh. So everybody's looking around. And at one point, so they got workers are looking for my trophy. Iran Barkley comes up to me. He goes, yo, Skull, Duran got your trophy. I'm like, what? He goes, yeah, man, you're crazy. He said, I'm telling you, man, he took your trophy. I told him it was yours, but he said he wanted it for his Hall of Fame at his house. So I'm halfway. I trust Iran, but I'm thinking why would he do that? It has my name on it, right? So I go out and I wait outside. We were at the Marina Del Rey in the Bronx. I wait out where the valet is, and I'm waiting, and my wife's in the truck, and my daughter's in the truck. I'm waiting. All of a sudden, Duran comes out with like 10 people. And his son, who's like 23 years old, whatever he is, he's coming out. And I'm waiting. I'm looking. He's got a trophy in his hand. And I'm going, nah. And I walk up to him, like, hey, let me see that. And I tilt it upwards, and I see my name. Immediately, I get angry. And I rip the trophy out of his hand. Now, he started to walk towards me like a confrontation. Now, I don't know what I look like, but something told him to stop because he got like halfway and then he stopped, and I was going I don't swear. I'm not that type of guy, right? I bet you Russ has never heard me swear in 30, 40 years, right?
I've heard him think about swearing.
Yeah. But I went off, and when I got in the truck, my wife was like, are you crazy? What's going on? I go, hey, he took the trophy, man. All of a sudden, Duran comes with his family. They come around the side of the car. And I rolled. Now I'm irritated at this point. I just rolled the window. I go, what? And his wife says, "You're being very disrespectful." And I said,
Oh,
"You took my trophy." I said, "Are you people crazy?" And I go, "Duran." And I never forget what I said to him. He probably didn't even understand, really. I said, "Duran, you can go kick rocks, but you're not getting the trophy." And that's the end of it. And I drove away. When I get home, the guy who ran everything, he calls me. He's like, "Oh, man, I'm sorry." He goes, "We realized halfway through we didn't get Duran anything. And he was going back that night. We were bringing him to the airport and we wanted to give him something and we couldn't find you because you were out in the crowd. So we took your thing."
no
So I
way.
say to them, "Would you have done the same thing for me taking his trophy?" And he goes, "Probably not." And I go,
Yeah.
"There you go." And he goes, "Honestly," he goes, I was starstruck. I was starstruck. I didn't know what to say. I said, "Look, it's all right." So I contacted Duran's daughter, who I know a little bit. I said, "Listen, tell your dad there's no hard feelings. Everything's good, blah, blah, blah." A few months later, I'm at an event. I have it on video. I'm at an event. I forget which one it was. Maybe it was Atlantic City. It was Atlantic City Hall of Fame. I go to the event and I'm filming the crowd. I'm filming everybody. All of a sudden, you can hear me go, "There's Duran. he's he's coming towards me, and he's coming." I go, "I gotta get this on film." Let's see what happens. But he came up and he started like smiling and he hugged me. He goes, "It's okay, it's okay, everything good, everything good." And ever since then, every time I see him, matter of fact, his daughter told me a few months ago, or his wife maybe, they told me, every time we come to New York now, all we talk about is you. We're like, you're the topic of conversation. So I'm friends with the family now, and everything's fine. But that's my crazy Duran story.
Wow. So
Wow.
two terrible experiences with people not telling you certain things, not
Yeah,
communicating.
yeah, for sure.
That's so funny.
I remember when Scully told me that. That was good.
Yeah,
I
yeah, that
can't
was,
lie.
and everybody,
That was-
everybody heard about it. Like the story, the boxing world is small, and within a few days, I mean, people were calling me going, "What happened with you and Duran? That's crazy." And I'm like, "Man, I thought for a second, I thought it was gonna get physical. Like I'm thinking maybe he's gonna clip me with a hook. Who knows what's happening here?" And but he's good now. I see him. He was actually last year. He was in the room right of all places. He was in the room next to me in the hotel. So we kept running into each other at the elevator and talking to his family. And yeah, he's good dude. He's fun. He's fun.
Is he chilled out a lot now that he's older?
Yeah, yeah. He's
Yeah.
relaxed. Yeah, he's relaxed. He likes spending time with Iran Barkley, and they even though he doesn't speak that good English, he's always saying like, "Oh, you hit so hard, you hit so hard," and talking to Iran, and he's fun. The family's fun. His daughters are real cool. His wife is fun. They're good people.
Right on, right on. How does that's happened before too, where two guys fight each other, and after fighting they become like close friends. Like you think of Ward and Gaddy became like really good buddies
Oh
after
yeah, yeah,
killing each
yeah,
other
for
for
sure.
weekends.
Well, I tell you a funny thing. Breland and Starling fought twice in '87 and '88. Now, in 1999, I did a tournament at my gym, state championships, and uh, I invited Mark Breland to come and hand out trophies. And so at one point, I was talking to him on the phone, and Marlon Starling happened to walk into the gym, and I saw Mooch. I'm talking to Mark. He goes, "Oh, give me the phone." He said, "I haven't talked to him since we fought." And so I give him the phone, and Marlon like makes a fake voice, and he's trying to get Mark to guess who it is. And you could tell when Mark figured out who it was, and they start laughing, and it's like crazy. Like they're so excited to talk to each other. And when like a week later, they were both at the state championships, and they hung around with each other the entire night,
Yeah,
standing next to the wall, and they've been in touch ever since.
that's
Ever
cool.
since 20 something years. Yeah.
That's all you have to do. You wanna create peace. You have two guys punch each other in the face. For
Yeah.
for an extended period of time, they'll become tight.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's how Scully and I have remained friends for for all these years was because of that?
Punch each
Yeah.
other in the face.
Well, yeah. I
No.
mean, like he came up to fight my guy, came up to fight Otis Grant, and we've been friends ever since.
1980, like that connected us.
Yeah.
January 20th, 1988. I fought Otis, and after the fight, somehow we got connected because we both turned pro shortly after. I feel like
No,
3
but
months
we met.
later.
Whoa, Scully. We met. We started talking in like the lobby of the arena and stuff after the
Right.
fight. Yeah.
Right. But I'm saying when we turned pro later in the year,
Yeah.
somehow my manager connected with you guys.
Yeah,
and
Bob Miller. Bob Miller put us on the show. Bob Miller was booking the fights.
And
Bob Miller put
Otis
us on.
and his brother Howard ended up coming to Hartford and fighting on the undercard. And actually, Otis at 167 pounds knocked out a guy that weighed like 202 pounds, Stokely Critchlow. and
That's right.
and Howard beat two good guys from our area, Ray Bright and Greg Cadiz. And then when Otis started getting good fights and NEBF titles and everything, I started going to Montreal to spar with him, and I sparred with him for pretty much the rest of his career. And
Yeah, that's right.
So, and then when I started training fighters, well, actually, Russ worked corner for my last fight, my final 2 fights actually. And then when I started training fighters, Russ would work the corner with me with different guys, and we went
Including
to Lake Tahoe.
Including
Chad
Chad.
Dawson, Scott Pemberton, Ray Oliveira. So
that's right.
It's been a very eclectic relationship for all these years.
Yeah.
Right on. Now here's one thing I wanted to ask too. You know, some fighters when they become trainers, it just doesn't transfer, right? Like you see it happen with. I think I've seen a few examples. I'm not going to name because I don't want to put them on talk crap. But there are a few examples of fighters that just aren't good trainers. It doesn't transfer. And conversely, there are guys who maybe weren't fighters or had a very limited fighting career, but turned out to be great trainers. So like, why do you feel like your transition worked out so well, becoming a trainer?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I always, and all the fighters I've ever talked to or worked with, pick up on this. I always say I'm not a trainer of fighters. I'm a fighter who trains fighters. Now, everything I do personally is based on my experience as a boxer. So I could tell you things that I know, I'll give you an example. I was working the corner for a kid, and he wasn't my fighter, but I was helping in the corner. And he was on the ropes, and I could see his eyes were big, and he's on the ropes, and he was trying to counterpunch. And I remember between rounds, I said, listen, I get it, man. You're on the ropes because you feel more comfortable. You feel safe there. I said, but you got to get back out in the middle. And when I said that, his eyes like opened up, almost like, how did you know that? Like, how did you read my mind? And I said, and after the fight, he asked me that. And I said, listen, because I did that almost every fight of my career. Like, I was on the ropes because I felt comfortable there. I felt the ropes behind me. I knew there was nobody could sneak up on me. I'm feel comfortable here. And, I just knew, I recognized it. So like Russ is a student of the game, and he learned, and he could tell you better, but he learned like the old school, like the way you would see in an old movie where he went around to the gyms and he worked with the great trainers and he told them, teach me, show me, like, I want to learn from you, and that's worked wonders for him. Whereas me, my whole thing is my experience as a boxer. I go based off that. And so it just shows you, like, there's a lot of good and great trainers in the game. And I was a guy, when I was younger, I thought you had to be a fighter to be a good trainer. I always thought that, right? It seemed like common sense to me. But I've realized over the years that's not true. And even what's even more not true, like, just because you're a great amateur coach does not have anything to do with professional. It's 2 different games. It's 2 different worlds. And I've seen that play out where a guy, like, will bring a kid up and turn him pro, and all of a sudden it's not happening.
Put it in your GPS.
It's not happening because the pro game is different. And I've seen it. I've seen it with guys who trained excellent amateurs, But as a pro, they needed someone to either help or take over because the pro game was different. The mentality was different. And so, like I say, I mean, the transition for me was good because I was training amateurs all while I was a fighter myself. The entire time I was a pro fighter, I had an amateur team. So the transition there was no transition. I just kept doing it.
Yeah.
Jesse, I'll answer that question. I'll answer that question for John as to why he is, because there's a lot of people, a lot of fighters who have transitioned the same way that John did, but haven't had the success that John has had. And one of the reasons is because even when he was an amateur, when he was a kid, started out, he wanted to be like fighters. He studied fighters. He looked at what fighters did. He understood the learning process and science of what it took. And John can imitate a lot of guys as well. Like, he'd be able to imitate and mimic what they do because that's part of the learning procedure. So he learned to do that. What John does different as compared to other trainers is they think they're only good because they were a fighter. John and Buddy McGirt's another one who understand the difference between being a fighter and being a trainer. Being a trainer who was a fighter understands that the roles are different. So he takes that same attitude of learning and being a student and seeing what guys do and understanding it, and doesn't necessarily say, well, I'm good just because I was a fighter. He understands that there's a difference, and he's made it work as a trainer, and he adds the experience of being a fighter to that mix, which makes him even better. And a lot of fighters can't do that, but right. He was able to, and he worked with amateur kids where I'm not sure I want to say I disagree, but I think one of the good things that proves that a guy can become a good coach is when they develop amateur kids. I think that's a really good starting block when you can do that. Yeah, of course, it's a different game. I understand that, the pro game and the amateur game. But the difference for me to prove that you can teach or coach or have an impact is when you take a kid, that's never put on gloves, walks into the gym, and then next thing you know, you're going to national tournaments with him, and you've taught him how to stand, how to do everything. That proves that you have the ability to teach somebody and be a trainer, and it's not just because you were a pro fighter.
Right.
Well put. And I think that's really like that kind of nails it too. One thing I've noticed is, and it's not just like boxers, but you see this with other athletes as well. When they start training people, they go, I know what I'm saying. I've done this. Like, you need to listen to me. And it's a very, I feel like it gives them a negative opportunity to become really narrow. Because they're like, this is the only way to do it, as opposed to like, this is a really complex game. You should be very like open-minded and
right.
continue to learn.
I've learned a couple techniques from watching a kid in the gym who was like 14 years old, but he was a really good amateur, and he did a move. I forget what it was, but I remember him doing a move one time, a technique, and I was like, man, I've never seen this before in my life. I go, this kid's brilliant, like what he just did. And I copied it and used it. And I was like, I was advanced at the time. I was already a pro and all that. But it was a young kid, and he showed me something, and I had never seen it before, Yeah.
And John was in his second to last or last fight, which we didn't know at the time of his career. And we started working on how, the different way to throw a jab, and he threw a jab that he had never done before and had been boxing since he's 15 years old. So.
And I controlled that whole fight with my jab. I remember thinking as it was happening, I was going, that was a good jab. That was a good jab. I'm Tommy Hearns up in here. And it was funny. I would say, like, Rush at that time, okay, I had officially been in the game. Let's see, 82, 92, 72, 19 years at that time. I had officially been in the gyms. And training for my last fight, Rush showed me a technique about how to get a little more distance on your jab, right? that I had never seen and never been told in my entire 19 years in the game up until that point. And to this day, it's the first thing I've shown every new person I've trained. It's the first thing I've shown them. Literally. Yep.
About them apples.
Yeah,
So
that's not bad. That's not bad.
So this is right now, guys. We're kind of coming into that like what's historically always been an exciting time in boxing. It's Cinco de Mayo weekend. I've always liked it, not just because of the fights that you have on that weekend, but the fights around that weekend, the fights in the weeks afterwards. It seems like a lot of good fights all happen. So it's sort of like you just get a lot of good stuff all at one time. Now it's a little bit more dispersed. But that being said, obviously there's no Canelo, right? So you kind of look at like who fills that void. The first one that's super interesting to me, I know you guys aren't huge on the lighter weight classes, but Inoue versus Nakatani in Japan, they sold like, I don't know, 22,000 tickets, I think. Like just doing like great numbers ahead of time. I'm excited about it. Obviously, it's 2 pound for pound guys. I wanted to get your all's thoughts on it. What do you think of that fight?
Go ahead, Scully.
I haven't seen a lot of the other guy, but everything I've read tells me, this is probably going to be his toughest fight, Inoue. But he's something else, that guy. Like I'm not interested in the small guys at all, but I like him. Like if he's on TV right now, I'm going to go watch him for sure. He's a savage, and he's unique. He's something else. Yeah, he's somebody to watch for sure.
Yeah. One fun fact, I'm sure you know this already. It's going to be on at 3 a.m. Central Standard Time. So they didn't like bend at all to accommodate us in the States or over North America, which I think is kind of like good for them. Like do it if you can carry your own fight and sell it out and all that. Then more power to you. It's going to be hard to wake up at 3 in the morning on a Friday.
Right.
Listen, nobody really accommodates that. Like, I mean, even when the big fights go on in the UK, they put it on. They have to accommodate the UK fans. You know what I mean? America doesn't try and accommodate, Europe when they put on fights. They have to hold it when they hold it, right? So you got to wake up at 4 in the morning in the UK to watch a fight. So yeah.
Well, what is it? The Saudis, they do it. Like Turkey and them, they do it where it's on at prime time for you in the States, which I don't know what time it is over there.
Yeah. We went to the arena at like 1 o'clock in the morning, and the fight, I think we went on at like 3 o'clock in the morning when Arthur fought Bivol.
Well, I'll give you that yeah, they do that, but in fairness, everything that they do is late at night anyways. Just culturally, everything they do is late. So, I can't say that. I'm not sure that and because there's the 8-hour difference, it's a little bit easier, but they certainly are not airing the fight so that you can watch it at 10 o'clock at night in the United States like you normally would.
So it's not an accommodation. It just works out for everybody.
It happened to work a little bit better. Yes. Because over there, they won't do anything. They start to come to life when the sun goes down. Restaurants start to open, nightlife starts to happen when the sun goes down because it's so hot during the day. But at night, shopping centers are open, grocery stores are open, restaurants are open, and I'm not talking like at 7 o'clock at night. I'm talking at 11 o'clock at night. You're doing that stuff, So just because it's cooler, right? Because of the weather.
Gotcha. See, I'm learning. I'm getting educated over here. Never been there. By the way, when you guys go over there and you have a fighter fighting, you don't adjust to the time zone then, right? You pretty much just keep working in the same time zone you are in? Because then it's like you wouldn't adjust.
I know when we went there, we trained, at the same time. Like we trained here in Canada. When we were in Canada, we trained at the time that the fight would have been over there, so we didn't have to do anything new.
Gotcha.
And for me, like waking up late and going to bed late was the norm because that's when all the activities happened. Like when they did the fight week, for example, wasn't in the afternoon, it was at night. It was like 9 o'clock at night was the grand arrivals. You know what I mean? Like it was it was the press conferences were at 9, 10 o'clock at night. You know, just the way it was.
Yeah, and Russ, do you have any thoughts on that Nakatani Inoue fight?
Well, I like Inoue, you know, like, I mean, I know Nakatani's really good, but Inoue is special, you know, and you can watch him work. And I'm happy to say that I got to see him live. Didn't have to go to Japan. I got to see him when he fought in Vegas. And, you know, he's the real deal, you know, like he comes to fight and he's solid and composed, well trained, well educated in the ring. You know, there's a lot of positive stuff about the kid. He certainly is special, and he hits like a ton of bricks. So, yeah. And you know what? I think that they've got the idea, and I think this is one of the things that seems to be missing now from, I guess, the North American landscape is we've stopped trying to produce local heroes. You know, we've stopped trying to sell out local arenas. We like to put on events. We like to put on an event at the Garden or events in Las Vegas, but we've gotten away from the hometown buildup of a fighter that used to be so important back in the day. You know, even when you go back to the times of, you know, when Lou Duva was building those guys at Ice World. You know, we don't do that anymore, and Japan does, and the UK still does, and look at the numbers they generate as a result.
Yeah, and they get such a diehard following, specifically in the UK. I mean, those fans. If you have support in UK and you're from the UK, you're going to do just fine. You'll be selling out, you know, soccer stadiums or football stadiums.
Yep.
So one thing I noticed, maybe to you guys it's like nothing. To me, I saw it and I was like, what's that about? So I like both of those guys. I think they're both really talented. I'm excited for the fight. The other third guy in the mix, who's also in the pound for pound list, who I'm a huge fan of, is Jesse Bam Rodriguez. Like I think he has so much potential and he's very talented. Eddie Hearn just recently made a remark where he goes, "Yeah, we'd like to get him to fight Inoue." He goes, "Maybe not the next fight, but within 1 or 2 fights, we think that's the best fight to make in boxing." Is that a little bit disrespectful considering he's already going into a really competitive fight? Like to Nakatani to start talking about, yeah, we want to get them in a fight together?
I think sometimes they do that on purpose.
To undermine the other promoter?
Well, you know, to disrespect the guy, you know, to make him think like, man, they think I'm going to lose, you know, like get in his head, you know. You know, you'd be surprised how many times, you know, how the little things like that could mess with a guy. You know, he'll be like, man, they're looking past. Maybe it throws him off his game. Maybe it makes him a little more aggressive than he should be, or you know, whatever. You know, I think some of that stuff is just pre-fight nonsense.
Yeah, I agree. But if you guys want to talk about a pound for pound guy, I don't know if we mentioned this the last time we spoke, but to me, the guy that keeps popping up in my brain when I think about pound for pound, and I think we've discussed this before about how I determine what a guy looks like pound for pound. Man, I tell you, boy, you're hard pressed to convince me that from an overall perspective of skill and technique and the picture book way of being a fighter, if you find somebody better than Shakur Stevenson, I'm going to be shocked.
Oh yeah, you're a huge proponent for Shakur.
Yeah, and again, just for the like he is, you know, and I think I told Scully this, but you know, you could take guys like Ali or Roy or even Mayweather, for example. You know, there are certain guys who achieved greatness by almost breaking all the rules and doing things in their own unique, inimitable style. You know, they did it, you know, they got away with stuff because they were so gifted and so talented, they were able to do that. And but in Shakur's case, this is a case of perfection. You know, he's the kind of guy that, you know, he's the picture book essence of boxing. Like when you draw a picture of how should you stand, how should you carry your hands, how should you defend, he does all the things. To me, as a trainer, like when I'm looking at him, to me is like, that's exactly what I would, if I could make the perfect fighter, that's what I would want to make him like.
You're a classic boxing guy, like a classic fundamentalist. So
Yeah.
you're gonna. I mean, he like fits the mold perfectly. His balance is as good as it could be, and he punches with balance, and he's just very sound. He doesn't really make a whole lot of mistakes. But honestly, I'm the other way. And that's why like Vasily Lomachenko when he came out was so exciting because he was winning in like really extraordinary ways, and there were ways that were so unique. You didn't see someone who was able to do the things he did, and it was.
Oh well, yeah, for sure. But we were comparing pound for pound now, not when Lomachenko was around. So yeah.
True.
I got to watch both of them spar. I was there for 2 sparring sessions of 12 rounds each, where they sparred each other, Shakur and Lomachenko.
Iceman, should I ask a tough question?
Wow. Well, I would
Who
ask
wins
this: how'd that sparring look?
What's that?
How'd the sparring look, Russ?
It was such high level, like it was enthralling. It was better than fights I've been at. Okay, and the first day that they sparred was a Friday, which was the end of Loma's work week. And you can imagine, you don't have to imagine, what Loma's work ethic was like. And, he's winding down on a Friday after a very hard week of training. And Shakur's comes in, ready to box, and they're, ready to go. And I don't know what he'd been doing up to that point or what his schedule had been like, but I do for Loma. And, Shakur was full of piss and vinegar. I mean, he was ready to go. He was confident and firing and a young kid, and he was getting his chance to spar with Lomachenko, and he wanted to, show that he belonged. And he did. It was a great exchanges, and Loma, I mean, nobody was getting over on each other, but you could see Loma wasn't able to control him or do what he wanted the way he normally did with other sparring partners. And Shakur was hanging in there and boxing, and they were, tit for tat, if you will. Yeah. The following Monday, now there was the rest in the weekend. Now it became a little bit highly more competitive, and now Loma was firing on different cylinders, or on more cylinders, I should say. And now it was still good. It was still for a young kid that Shakur was at the time, it was fantastic. But you could see now the Loma had raised the game a little bit, and it made it that much more difficult for Shakur. But man, I mean, it was something to watch. It sure was special to be able to watch those guys do what they did at such a high level. And both of them were able to stand right in the pocket and right in an area where you think this is dangerous, you shouldn't be there, and they're picking off shots. Boop, 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 boop. No problem. Yeah, it was special.
Well, one guy's a puzzle, and the other one is like a puzzle solver. Lomachenko's constantly finding new ways to solve the problem, and then you have a guy who's like as tight as could be defensively.
Yeah.
And
he's so quick. He was so quick as a kid. Now, like, he's just quick. His reaction time is unbelievable. He is the first boxer that I could think that I could say this about, and I know Scully has watched some hockey in his day. I don't know about you, Jess, although you should, being from the Midwest. Yeah. Do you remember when they used to say about Wayne Gretzky that he sees the plays happening in slow motion, like he sees them at a slower pace than the rest of the world looks at it? Right. Well, that's exactly the way I feel about Shakur. I see him react to punches that I wonder, how did you see that so fast and were able to react? I'm on the outside and I couldn't react that fast. And it's almost like he sees everything at a much slower pace and is able to get away from shots and move away and react instantaneously, that it's as if he sees them coming at a pace of molasses. He's just moving away from it. Okay, here it comes, and move away from it. And Scully, as a fighter, like, the difference between fighting a guy with speed and fighting a guy who's really slow, how much more you can do when a guy's really slow. You see everything coming, you're not worried about it. You see it all,
Yeah.
no matter how heavy-handed they are, right? Like you don't even care that they're big punchers because you see everything, right? Well, that's the way
That's right.
Shakur is with everybody. How's that possible?
Yeah.
All right,
It's a
I know, and
gift.
Scully, I know you got to wrap it up soon. I'll just go one
Yeah.
more, and then I don't want to keep you tied up for too long. But so we have the other big fight, or which is supposed to be the big Cinco de Mayo fight, is going to be Benavidez versus Zurdo, right? So I like the fight. I think it's a good fight. I like seeing Benavidez step up and take on a new challenge, and I always think he puts on a really exciting fight, and I think he's looking pretty unstoppable, or he has for several fights now. But that one's not selling
Yeah.
too well. And that's the opposite of the Japan fight. So this one is not selling too well. What do you guys think is missing there? I thought for sure Benavidez was ready to pop and be like a draw himself.
Well, I know personally, I haven't heard anyone talk about that fight. Anyone. I mean, I'm on the internet, quite a bit. I haven't heard anybody talking about it at all. Not one word.
Yeah, I think there's a certain lack of respect, if you will, or drawing power of Zurdo Ramirez. In the boxing business, we know who he is, but I mean, outside of the boxing business, he's hardly a household name, and I don't think it just ignites any fire with the regular fan. They like Benavidez, but they're almost taking him for granted that he's going to just win fights, no problem. No one sees it like you just said, Jesse. He's stepping up. No one sees it as that. They just see it in this day and age. People forget that there's supposed to be weight classes because fighters just jump around from weight class to weight class and nobody cares. The Canelo, Crawford came up from 154 to beat the guy who was arguably the pound for pound king in the face of boxing, and he schooled him. You know what I mean? So people don't seem to even care about weight anymore. They think if you lose, you lose, and has nothing to do with size, and which is quite unfair. But this is definitely a step up, and certainly going to be an exciting fight because Ramirez comes to fight, and David Benavidez can fight. Like that nickname of monster is equally apt for him as it is for Inoue. They are both monsters in their divisions.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I love Benavidez as a fighter. I think I love his style because he's just the way he can throw volume at that size and then the speed and power combination. It's almost to his detriment that he doesn't slow down some of his punches to change it up, but he's just a come forward machine. I mean, he reminds me of
100%.
Leo Santa Cruz with power, just nonstop assault.
Right.
Yeah. And the power is important that he's got. It's important power.
All right, I'll give you guys two more, and then I promise I'll let you go. Really mean it. So the other thing too, speaking of looking over when we talk about Bam Rodriguez, he has a fight coming up too on I think it's June 13th against who's it, Antonio Vargas, who the thing I'm talking about here is it's cool because he's going up in weight. He's fighting for a belt, which is terrific. But then when I dug in a little bit, he's fighting for a belt with a champion who is a champion in recess. I should have done my research, but what does that actually mean? What does that mean?
No idea.
Is that even okay?
I don't know what a regular
Okay, so
champ
not-
is. I don't know what a emeritus champ is. I don't know what a silver champ is. And I certainly don't know what a champion in recess is.
Yeah, and then what's the other one that the WBC came up with? There's a champion, a franchise champion. What is it called?
Yeah,
Oh yeah, franchise. Yeah.
You're either the champ or you're not. I mean, my
These
goodness.
people are out of their minds. They're out of their minds.
A champion
That's
in
what it is.
recess? What are we talking about? He goes out to a playground and fights? What do you mean a champion in
Yeah.
recess? Is it a courtroom? Is it a
Well, they have the thing where you have the interim champion, which, as far as I recall, it started with Joe Louis and Jimmy Bivens. And, when Joe Louis went to war and Jimmy Bivens took over, as the interim heavyweight champ while Joe was at the war. Now you have interim champions. This is almost like a comedy. You have interim champions defending their title on the same show, the same night, in the same building as the champion is defending his. So there's no need for an interim champion because not only is the real champion in action, he's fighting an hour after you are on the same show.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's insane.
It's really
It is insane.
It's a corporation that goes, hey, we're in this market, but we could do this market. We could expand into this market. It's like they're just in the business of selling belts. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, but they're not the problem, guys. Like, think about this. They're not the problem. The problem is the people that are paying the sanction fees and saying, yeah, my fighter wants to fight for this. And they're telling you that if you don't fight for it, well, you're not going to get a shot at the real champion. So we're going to let you fight for the interim, which really should only be the number one contender spot. You become the mandatory challenger. But you got to pay the sanction fee for that. You got to pay for that.
But how's that there? Yeah. I don't agree with that because the fighters are just trying to fight. What are they supposed to do? Not play the game? I mean, they have to.
That's right. Exactly. But the promoters, the promoters can say, nah, we're not doing it. We're not. We don't need that. Guys are going to fight.
We're getting worse and worse and worse as a sport. And I'll tell you this: if my aunt, right, if she asked me to explain to her how this works, who's the champion, I couldn't even explain it to her because it would sound stupid. It would sound insane for me to try to justify any of this about who's the champion, and it's bizarre. It's so weird. I hate what the sport's become.
It's the interim thing was actually, I'm trying to remember exactly. I'm talking the modern era, not Jimmy Bivens, but modern, where a guy was out because of a serious injury or whatnot. So they don't want to take his title away. So they say, okay, he's unable to defend the title. We're going to create an interim champion to keep the division active. And when he comes back, whoever may be the interim champion at that time, he has to fight the real champion. Now, that on paper and in theory sounds brilliant and equitable and fair and all is good. Well, we've gotten away from that. I mean, it's like day before weigh-ins now. We're bordering on 2 days before for weigh-ins. You're almost weighing in 2 days before a fight. So, we've completely lost the plot on what was supposed to be something good to what it has become now.
Yeah, I also think it's just competition between the sanctioning bodies. It's like, let's say the WBA decides we're not going to have any belts besides one belt in each weight class. Okay, fair enough. Well, if I'm a fighter who's up and coming and I want a belt now and it matters to me, I'll go, okay, you're not doing it. What about you, WBC? And they'll go, sure. You want to be an interim? You want to be a franchise? You want to be an intercontinental? You want to be, And so then they all have to do it if they want to be competitive. Otherwise, you're going to lose out to the next guy.
And you know what? Amateur boxing is partly to blame for that as well because, this giving away, which is never going to change despite the fact that Scully doesn't like it, I don't like it, but giving away belts to amateurs and they're strapping these things all over their shoulders and waists and collecting them and putting them around. And like it's become crazy what the significance a belt has to fighters, and they say they want a belt and it's like the ultimate prize, right? And they're being mass produced now in numbers that are unbelievable.
They're manipulating the kids. They're literally, it's like drugs, it's like crack. They're giving them crack as a 10-year-old so you could pay me a sanction fee 15 years from now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the kids, you got, and I don't want to sound like I'm insulting the kids, but you have an amateur kid who wouldn't have a prayer of winning his local Golden Glove tournament, but he's got 3 WBC championship belts at his house that he won on shows. And meanwhile, some of the best fighters in the world could never get a WBC belt. But this kid from Toledo has 3 of them, and he came 3rd place in the local Golden Gloves. I mean, come on, man.
And you can win it on a walkover, too. You can win it on a walkover. You show up and no one else shows. It happens, especially like in a place where it's more. So let me ask this then. This is the obvious next question. Is it a better idea to do it the way Zuffa is doing it? Are they onto something? Because what they're going to do is say, well, forget all of that. We're going to do it our way and just take it away from you guys. We're the promoter. We'll make our own belt, same way they did in the UFC. Are they onto something with that?
They're certainly trying to be, that's for sure. They're certainly trying to be.
It's just, for the time being, it's going to be even more confusing, though. Like imagine trying to tell somebody, even somebody who's been a casual fan, and you go, listen, forget the WBA, WBC, and the IBF. We have the Zuffa or Zuffa. We got Zuffa. You know, they're gonna think you're joking, like it's, you know, and you'll think I'm joking, but I'm not. They've got to change the name. The name is so stupid. Zuffa, Zuffa, whatever. Come up with something else. That sounds ridiculous. I couldn't picture anyone on earth going, yeah, I wanna be the Zuffa champion. Zuffa. I want to be the Zuffa champion. I just can't see it. It's just horrible.
Yeah.
They got to come up with a new name.
It's another layer too. I like that they're at least trying something different, and I think that they're trying to do something competitive, and that's all good in my opinion as a boxing fan. Like, love it. But now, if you are like the IBF, like Jai Opatai had that happen, where he's the IBF champ, and they go, well, and shame on them too, because they're like, well, if you're gonna fight on their card, then we're gonna take the belt away from you, and it's like, that just makes that you're just convoluting it more. It's becoming more challenging to understand. So now you
I think war has been declared, so you know that's what it's going to become now. They put their stake in the ground, and now people are going to defend against it. They're going to fight against it.
But
either
50,
way,
50 years from now, how are you going to say who the champion was back in 2026? Like, it's so insane.
You know what, Scully? I think I'll tell you what, Scully. I think it's getting to the point where it doesn't matter anymore, and it just matters how much money they can make.
And how famous you are. Like now, if Tank Davis fought a fight right now, people, if you didn't even tell the people that it wasn't for a world title, you just made it a 12-round fight, I don't think they would even care. I don't think they even care anymore that a belt is on the line. I don't even, like, look, I can tell you right now, June 16, 1983, Davey Moore fought Roberto Duran for the WBA junior middleweight title. I can tell you that with absolute certainty, right? I don't know what title any of these guys just fought for last week. Like, I don't know what champ, even what's his name? Tank Davis. I don't even know what belt he was. I can't even tell you what champion. I can tell you what Ray Mancini was in 1982, but I can't tell you what Tank Davis was last year.
You're right, but the difference I'm saying is that you on the other hand, you have a guy like Conor Benn, who just made a reported $13 million to fight Regis Prograis, you know, in the co-feature of the fight we were at, John, you know, and they're making that kind of money. Do you think, or would you care what belt you're fighting for if you got the fight?
He made more money. He made more money to fight Regis than Muhammad Ali ever made in his entire career. Muhammad Ali never made close to that. It's crazy.
So, that's inflation too. I don't know about you guys, but for us, it's crazy. You know, so like the game's changed a little with inflation, but even so, I agree. I thought that was, well, I don't want to talk smack, but if I'm being totally candid here, I just didn't think that was a great idea by them to sign him with all that guaranteed money.
For one fight and not even have him under contract. It's bizarre. You know?
I don't know what they were trying to. I had no idea what their goal was with that. It seemed, but I don't know. They're smarter than me, or at least they make a lot of money doing this. Like, there's probably a reason I don't understand, and I'm sure there is. But on its face, I was like, why would you pay Conor Benn that much money? He's not a huge name.
I think they just wanted to hurt Eddie Hearn. You know, I think that was a shot at Eddie. But gentlemen, I'm going to have to love you and leave you. It's been a wonderful conversation. Did this in the car, which I'm glad I was able to do. But now I got to go do some work. So I'm leaving on Saturday. I'm going to be gone until the 25th of May. So I've got lots on my plate. So, Jesse, thank you for having us once again.
Thank you guys. Thanks for doing this. I know it got a little bit complicated, but having you guys, I always really, really appreciate it. Thank you guys.
No problem
All right,
at
have a
all.
good one,
Thank you
boys.
very much. All
All
right,
right.
guys.
Good night.
Be good.
See you guys.